Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As the soundtrack says, from the Berkshires to the Sound, this is ISD 3 News. Today's major story is Hartford recognizes its people for their 1981 performance. Today at the Hartford Club, Xerox recognized its people, many for the first time. The traditional passing of the mahogany is an event long awaited by many, and many have waited a long time. Top honors for 1981 go to various winners in a number of categories. Top MR for the year is none other than Abdal's favorite big boy, Jack Coyle, at 220% of plan. The big guy gained ground early and kept his momentum all the way. We know Jack will appreciate this award. Reach for comment before the broadcast. Jack said 3 things are important to him: his family, money, and mahogany, and not necessarily in that order. In the spot for the absolute best performance of the year was our former X-ray technician and consultant to the Iron Pig, and fresh from his data capsule, Robert McCullough. Bob made a marvelous transition considering he was only in assignment for 8 months. Bob can be seen working out daily at the Hartford YMCA, and asked for reasons why. He's just stated, "I only flexed once in 1981 and hope to do much better next year." In the top high volume category, Hartford's own Ragin' Cajun Bill Miller at 190% walked away with top honors. Mr. Miller, creator of Plan S, for all those who don't know what that means, it's sold, believes the bigger they are, the bigger they pay off. He says it's really easy. Once you mention free ongoing key operator training, the accounts fall very easily. Recently assigned to the commercial printing territory in the north part of the branch, Bill's goal for 1982 is to centralize the Berkshires. Good luck to you, Bill. The man with the top removal performance is Phil the Best Riley out of the New Haven team. Phil finished the year at 206% of plan, and that feat prompted the drivers at Admiral to bestow on him the coveted Jimmy Hoffa Great Mysteries Award for 1981. Phil says, "I tell him, I don't know how much this machine will cost you a month, but I bet it's less than the removal charges." I bet it is too, Phil. Watch out for those letters. Top units of the year also goes to Uncle Phil Riley from the GEM team with an outstanding 178% of plan. When asked how he accomplished it, Phil smiled and said, "Well, I tell him I don't know how much it costs per month, but I bet it's less than the placement charge." Well, you're still a legend in the Hartford branch. Good luck to you. In the spot this year for top installations, it's the Prince of Spaghetti himself, our own Tony Arrigo. Bones, as he is known to anyone over 110 pounds, knocked the socks off the program last year, which of course wasn't hard considering the fact that most of his customers don't wear shoes yet. He installed over 1,000 points on his way to copping top honors. He says rather shyly, "It was all me." Those poor printers. Tony doesn't take no for an answer. He threw so many one-liners at him that they begged to sign the order. Even with credit consistently at his heels throughout the year, Arrigo-Tony's revenge didn't cease until he made his 3rd President's Club in a row. When asked how it felt to have 3 in a row, Anthony said, "I also made MR of the month for December. I also made MR of the month for September. I also blah, 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 blah." Yes, we know. Thank you very much, Tony. Going into our supply program, our top performer of the year was none other than William Smiling Bill Benny. He finished the year off at 121% of plan, and that was a superb performance. Bill feels that the plan for the year was a piece of cake. His closing tool is an article which appeared in Better Toners and Gardens, which stated, "Competitor toner can cause cancer to insurance agents who wear leisure suits more than 40 hours a week. How true it is. This year, Bill got off to a hellish start with 15 new business lease orders, and he threw in a 9,500 trial just for good luck. He says he threw that in to eat up all those centralized supplies that he pounded into his accounts during the last week of December. We now switch you over to our New Haven Bureau Chief for an update on Southern happenings, Rad Berkey Lenahan. Rad this year finished as the number 1 sales manager in the Hartford branch. Big John, as he was referred to in some small circles, should be called Elton John, since his record-breaking Lenny and the Gems took the number 1 spot for 1981. Tremendous recording. Reach for comment at Colonel Lipp's Home for the Dry Ones. John stated, "Managing is like shaving. If you don't do it every day, you begin to look like a bum." Take it, Rad.
Thanks, Don. And hello from New Haven, land of sun and sirens. We had a fantastic year down here, and everyone pitched in to make this team really the number 1 team. Some noteworthy performers are, and we have many. Top competitive replacement goes to Debbie Corwin. Debbie joined us in April, fresh from her debut in New York, and knocked out a dozen Savins with 12 Xerox 3100s and a 9500. Debbie says it's just like the song, New York, New York. If you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. Too bad Lou Hurwitz isn't a Sinatra fan. Her strategy is simple. Look competition straight in the face while you're eating a garlic bagel, and they'll leave. Another major event for Team 2 was a 9203 placement at the University of Hartford for Ron Murphy. Ron says, "I really didn't have any competition, just like Ron when he plays tennis." And he's right so far. It's 19203s placed in the free world. Rochester Brass said that placement alone will pay for half the expenses for the 9203 price list in 1981. University of Hartford students are not so pleased. One freshman was overheard to say, "He's brought new meaning to the term hand-collated." Rookie of the Year honors goes to Dan Crazy Man Hansen. The silver-tongued, silver-haired ex-AM crime fighter took to the state of Connecticut like a tornado. Sorry, Windsor-Locks. He had more action at the old State House than Elizabeth Ray in D.C. Dan currently is in Leesburg for K-12 training, and he said shortly before he left Bradley Field it was a snap. I just told Ted Faraci at the state, either I'm the one in 81, or there's a Ford in your future in 82. Another fine achievement award goes to Fred. Was there a meeting last week, Tracy? For the best finish of 1981. Fred, better known as Dick Tracy at UMass, an affectionate nickname due to his long raincoat and dark sunglasses in all kinds of weather. He masterminded a brilliant scheme mid-year to pull his numbers up from 0 to 110%. Freddie says, "If only my wife got her job sooner. With my daughter at Harvard, my wife working, the house was empty and perfect for those conference phone calls." Fred also acknowledged that seeing 82's comp plan, PAW, President's Club bonuses helped. The real problem was, he said, the damn books didn't come until December. Now up to our bureau chief in Springfield, Jerry Bonzo Brooks, who will give you the Reynolds rap as he saw it.
Thank you, Rad. Welcome back from Serenity Farm. At this time, I'd like to recognize an individual who truly had a fine year. He finished 1981 as Hartford's top HBME, and that is none other than Terry Axman. Terry gave it everything he had and covered territories that were not even assigned to him, many times without the knowledge of those individuals who owned those territories. His exceptional performance may well have been the reason he was chosen to be the sales manager for Team 1 in 1982. Another very significant reason might be the fact that he was the only Ready Now candidate on the East Coast. Asked what he plans differently for 1982, the curly-haired kid said, "First, I have to plan the plan, then organize the plan I planned, then implement the plan I planned and organized, in order to monitor the organized plan I implement. Good luck, management studies, Brett. Next up is a man I've worked with for a long time who always gets the business. His efforts in 1981 led him to receive the distinction for the top percentage of trial closes, Charlie Salonetti. That's one name, not three. Charlie, the old gentle Ben of the Berkshires, always gains pre-commitment for the trial. His method is foolproof. Says Charlie, I always use a service agreement to sign up the trial. Only once did it backfire. Charlie tells the story like this. The decision maker said, I don't want that machine. So I told him the liquidated damages were more than 3 times the company's net worth. And since I knew everyone in town, and everyone in town liked me, he knew his chances of winning in small claims court were little or none. Who says nice guys finish last? And now, for a lark, back to you, Don.
Thank you, Jerry, for that exceptional report. And congratulations, by the way, on your recent promotion to branch manager of PSD on the 14th floor. I'm sure glad that this isn't one corporate center. Remember the stress tests on those floors? No offense, big guy. Did a marvelous job. For the final 2 award categories, we have Best Flax Order. And of course, our winner there was Big Bob McCullough. His one big 6 centralized XTI sold to rental order at Combustion Engineering put Bob on Easy Street, Mike Arity on Second Thoughts Boulevard, and Jim Wilson on Payne Lane. Just kidding, gentlemen. Bob did a tremendous job, and the results paid some pretty good bonuses. Asked what all that money had done for him, Bob says he'll no longer have to sell free Yukon tickets outside the game for beer money. And finally, our journey comes to a close with the Best Startup of the Year award, and that goes to our good friend and new companion, Dave Zilke. Dave is fresh from a nights in a New York hotel and a doctor's office in Connecticut. Dave's father, who works at Webster, says his dad helped him a lot. He not only showed Dave how to make a copy, but how and who made it. He says that he's a personal friend with a famed Webster genius, only known as Inspected by Number 7. Congratulations, Dave, and to all the others who helped Hartford achieve a goal of performance in 1981 that many other branches didn't. Now for a look at the weather, here's a man who turns a stiff breeze into hot air, our own Charlie McBagley. Take her away, Charles.
Yesterday's high was at 6:30 p.m. in West Hartford, after a dozen drinks before dinner. I might add that yesterday's low was reached at 9 a.m. That's when I received the SACS report. Now for a look around the area. There's a high-pressure zone coming in the region out of Rochester, and this zone will bring with it hot, moist, hurricane-like winds, golf balls as large as hailstones, and cold air, which will make your eyes water. Some small copy advisories are in effect from Maine to Greenwich. It's believed that this type of activity will produce a large plaque buildup in Hartford in '82. Tomorrow's forecast is as follows. The sun will rise at 7:02. Unfortunately, none of our reps will be up to see it. A large cluster of supply calls will rapidly develop along the shoreline. Clear visibility due to bright outlooks, making clouds look like overhead transparencies. Bob Kenny from the Traveler Weather Service labels this low toner effect. The dew in the morning will feel like fuser oil, and in the higher elevations, more like fuser agent. Every goddamn thing in order. Are we on camera? Well, somebody laughed, somebody laughed. Somebody ripped the edges on my sheets. Yes! Every centralized activity is planned for the Berkshires, with little or no let-up in sight. A band of medium to high volume calls are planned for the southern part of the state, starting in New Haven and working westward. Hartford, expecting a little fallout from this, so a lot of cold calls should be expected. The extended forecast looks like this. Saturday, still some hangover activities in the area. Sunday, clearing up. Monday, the first day of the second day of the first trimester, whatever the hell that means, looks for a low visibility in the branch. Tuesday, chance for some orders or flurries. And on Wednesday, we feel that the flurries will be tapering off. Accumulation of at least 1 to 2 orders per rep. Thursday, there will be increased heat and light. And by Friday, if a major storm isn't developed, look for low dark clouds on the horizon. So till next time, this is Charlie McDwaggy saying, sunny today, share tomorrow. Over to you, Dave Smith. Here we go.
And thank you, Charlie, for the Big Mac attack. Well, Hartford's football has seen some starting lineups and its changes. Offensive Al Kellen has been assigned to Team 1 and will be assuming Jumpin' Joe Lambert's old spot. Says Al, it'll be tough following Lambert, but if I last 30 days, I think I can beat his record. Taking over Al's position is a first-round draft choice from Chicago, Gwen Botsema. Gwen says she's looking forward to a great year on Team 2 and is anxious to meet her new coach, whoever that may be. Turning to basketball, the new guard for the state will be former coach Don Ford. Don expects to annihilate the opposition. He says his only competition is his former roommate, John Chero, of the Avon Underbidders. Don says, I think they bid off more than they can chew. Reach for comment, Chero said, I'll rip his face off. Don will play both offense and defense this year. Turning to the links, in golf, former auto industry expert Jim Grogan will tee off this year with new accounts at the request of the Regional Invitational Forum, RIF as it is better known to its members. Says 15-year veteran Grogan, I'm going to hit all those balls low and hard this year. What have I got to lose? My caddy last year is now my HVME. Baseball season is fastly approaching, and the old pro, Al, we're out of their league Lang, has been seen practicing for his 17th season with Hartford. Al spent Christmas vacation getting ready for this season. Last year, he said, they were pitching cannonballs at me. And the year before, he lost badly to the Royals. I'll be swinging like hell this year, says old Al. I have Tom Brett's bat here stuck somewhere. In women's gymnastics, Felicia Whalen can be seen jumping hurdles for Team 2. She already has set the pace for the other starters and leads with 30 points. Felicia is a true sportswoman and helps mentally retarded children in her spare time. Says Miss Whalen, it helps me establish rapport with my decision makers in the Naugatuck Valley. Felicia can be seen daily at the Naugatuck Valley Mall holding finger painting classes for her accounts. And finally, today's late-breaking story. The USS Coast Guard has found Olympic swimmer John Delane, 10 miles from south of Block Island. Delane, as you recall, had been missing since last August, when he was last seen snorkeling out to the USS Ohio, 250 miles out to sea, to get his pre-Ds. Once aboard the rescue ship, however, Delane refused all medical help until he made his ship-to-shore meter reads to Rose Gersovic. John will not return to work immediately, however. He has been subpoenaed as a possible eyewitness to the sinking of the Carnegie. Well, that's it for sports for now. Back to you, Don.
Yeah, I love you too, baby. Yeah.
Don.
Excuse me. Thank you. Well, stories we'll be looking at 11 o'clock in the night are, down to you, Berkey.
Oh, thanks, Don. At this point in the evening, I'm usually looking to pick up the check, but I'm also looking to keep the team in its #1 position next year. I'm getting all the players in shape right now, and they're up to about a martini and a half each. As I mentioned, Dan, thank you, Don. As I mentioned, Dan Hansen is down in Leesburg, and so is Jim Wilson. Willie had a great year in 1981. He finished at 164% in 3 gates and is going to Doral in April. He'll be a real contributor, I believe, in 1982. Debbie McGee, Birtwell, is having a net addition in July. I hope she closes Bay State Medical before she checks into it. Mike Maud is doing a fine job out in the field. Word has it that he and Wilson traveled together several times and exchanged selling techniques. One thing they both agree on, they're not going to shave. Cami Oyavi is closing orders left and right. Since she danced with Tony Arrigo at the Christmas party, inside sources say they overheard Tony tell her, closing is like dancing. You just keep moving closer and closer and closer. Well, that's it from the Ayatollah of the South. Now to you, old bean, Ayatollah of the North.
Thanks, Berkey. Word of some of our rookies is as follows. Victoria Garcia is writing business as well as making the transition from office manager for the Xerox Legal Counsel. Victoria related to me recently in an interview that submitting an order through EOE required more paper than it did to run the Xerox legal office during the famous SCM trial. Diana Mitchell, who closed her first order at Shearson American Express, said she had no trouble passing it through credit. She just had them charge it. John Murtaugh, who assumed his new territory in January, but is having trouble trying to convince Milton Bradley that the $500 special bonus coupon is in fact not monopoly money. John Sheehan, who has recently taken over from Bill Miller, effective January 1, is attempting to close an XCP contract at Northeast Utilities. John keeps explaining to Northeast Utilities that it's like electricity. The more you use, the less it costs. Mike Kozik, decision maker at Northeast Utility, responded by saying, we're waiting for a nuclear copier that's more energy efficient. Well, as you are all aware, this is my last newscast from ISD News. As you all know, I will be moving over to Anchorman on the PSD network. It's been fun, even if I didn't laugh. Well, that's the way it is.
The teeth.
January 28th, 1982. And now, over to you, Dave.
Done a marvelous job up there, James.
An event we'll be looking forward to at 11 is the famous UTC bid-off. Jimmy the Greek has odds that Jay Moore will be ahead by a margin of 2-1. We believe, more than likely, if more is less, then less is more, then more will get more. Now back to you, Don.
Thank you very much for that tremendous amount of insight in the potential of the dynamic sports world. We will now hear from our famous weather forecaster, Charlie Bagley, for the evening wrap-up. Charles. Come on, Charlie.
Put that cigarette out.
Hilton will be back in next week. Don't worry, folks.
This just in, a major storm, just like last year, Storm Monroe, is heading our way. It'll produce the same effect as it did last year. Hazardous driving conditions for the entire branch. Peddlers' advisories are posted, and low performers are warned to be on watch. The storm, which started in Westchester County, moved to Terrytown, settled in Simsbury, headed south to Wilton, is now coming out of Greenwich, and is expected to still be unsettled. Once a year, this storm hits us. Well, back to you, Don.
Thank you very much, Charles. One final note for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank all the customer support reps for their fine efforts on our behalf during this year. In the immortal words of Simon and Garfunkel, I'd like to thank Bob, Kathy, and Jay, Arnie Schwartz, and Rosemary Jackson. I hate to end this broadcast on such a sour note, but that's the way it is today. January 27th, 1982. Good evening, folks.
From the Berkshires to the Sound, from wherever you live, this is Eyewitness News 530.
that a take? That's a take.
Do a
It's
close-up-
post time.
Do a close-up on that better,
Hey,
Jack.
come on, it's
Smile,
post
Tony,
time.
smile. Come on.
Hey,
Come on, Tony.
It's
the end.
11:30.
There
It's
you go.
post time.
There you
That's
go.
it, guys.
Let's go.
Come on, let's go.
That's
hell
the
outta here.
end. The end.
Midnight.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, let's play it back. Then we
Bring
get
it back, we're gonna say again. Come on, come on.
Reasonable work.
but it's not substantiated by your call quality audits.
But you only hit 3 out of my 40 machines. How can you hold me accountable?
How can I not hold you
You
accountable?
only hit 3. This audit, CAM audit, does a lot more than 3.
What about the ones that the CAM audit didn't hit?
According to other Xerox tech reps, I'm doing 117%, which means I'm doing above what the regular average for all the other ones are. That's what it tells me I have to do to get a 4-level review.
All right, let's get off of that horse and let's go back and see how you got there,
All right.
okay? Let's just take, in particular respect, the nature of the territory that you have. Now, understand that this is specifically an indicator. Now, for the most part, your territory is high-volume machines. Isn't that right? Now, isn't it true that you can have a few machines that are high-volume pumpers that have high mean copies and run?
These are assumptions on your part. I'm not going to buy that, isn't it true? I want to see in black and white. All it says to me is, get 117% and you're in a 4 ballpark. That's all I read in all Xerox performance reviews. You can't justify giving me under that. I made the number. That's like I'm playing baseball. If I hit 300, I hit 300. And I'm going to go in and ask for a 300 hitter's pay.
How much is he paying you for this? Sandy, why don't you take the review with you and think about it some more? Take the standard setting session with you. Take the trip reports with you.
I don't even want to do it. I know what I'm going to do. I want a 4-level review. I worked for it. I worked hard. I got these numbers because I worked hard. There ain't nothing I can do about it because that's what I want. I told you, you get an 88, and you're not going to get a raise. I got 117. That's like I go to school and get a B. I'm not going to settle for a C. This is it. And if you don't want to pay me on those numbers, take these stinking numbers away.
This isn't the only category that this particular area is
All right,
being
let's
rated
go
on.
down to the next one. I got 120%, which is way the hell above it.
Let's talk about that one.
I'm not willing to talk. I know what my number is.
I know too.
Can you say that my number is less than here?
It's not.
Then I want to get paid according to what 120% pays. What is
That's
120%?
That's just one indicator in the
Here's
balance.
the other indicator.
That's a different area.
Well, I exceeded.
We're talking about this area now.
Okay, I exceeded in this one, right?
Okay, did you exceed in that one?
Let's look it up. 120%.
What about this 15% discretionary activity? Where was that spent?
Doing my parts, my tricks.
That 15% activity was spent back on your machines to probably bring them up to this because of this.
Giving my customers high volume satisfaction. My high volume customers getting the satisfaction that I have to give them as a good serviceman.
A high volume machine will not necessarily be an indicator of a customer that's satisfied.
Well,
What
you
we're
wrote-
looking at here, we're looking at MSH in particular
Mhm.
respect. What we asked of in the standard session was 95 to 100% and 10% for normal reasonable.
Right.
Now, the 120% that you achieved shows that yes,
What do I do?
you are beating the socks off of your MSH standard.
Here I am killing it.
You're
Two
spending
major
less
things.
time than what's necessary to do the call.
Yep.
However, you're going back in on customer cares and trims and things like that after the fact putting that extra time back into the machine that maybe you were supposed to be spending here.
A couple of times I
And
went
that
out
could
of my
be
territory.
what's-
I went out of my territory a couple of times and took calls out. And then
I wish I had more data on this guy.
I took a couple of them outside of my territory. Well, I sure as hell.
But this indicates that you had more time to spend out of territory.
Actually, it doesn't. It indicates that I'm doing my job. I'm getting 117% CAM in less time than it takes the majority of the other tech reps in this company, which means I'm over exceeding both my targets. You can't, I'm in tough times now and I need the money and I'm not going to accept anything but a 4-level review because I worked for it. There are a few things that you want to get out of me. Now you're talking 5-level for these extra things. You want me to go out and help all these other guys. Well, here I am, did a dynamic job of my own, and I took a couple of calls outside of territory, and you're telling me that I'm not worth it for 3 lousy machines you visit? Well, hell, I worked a whole half a year, and I visited more than 3 stinking machines that you went on. And this shows it. In fact, if you talk like mean copy tails or any of this, mean copy tails is only 40% of your machines you got to reach 100% on. There ain't nobody that's going to do a good job on every single machine you got. Can't do it. It's unbelievable. You can't reach that. But I over-exceeded these targets that this company told me to reach. You're going to have a hell of a time trying to shove a crummy raise like this on me.
How do you feel about the rest of the area, Sandy?
Well, no, I try to give my customers what they want, and you're stating that. You also told me that I'm improving because I tried a little harder, the key ops to probe them. Well, my truck is a little untidy, but that's because I'm in a react situation and running all the time. You give me the time. You're telling me right now that I don't have enough time to do anything. That
You told me you're
wasting
not.
time on that.
You told me you don't have
Give me
enough
more
to
time
do
for
it.
my truck, and I'll straighten it out. I'm busy going back, satisfying my customers. I just don't have the time. I'm so busy. I don't see where you come up with that. I'm wasting time. Here I am going back, cleaning my high-volume machines so they run longer, making my customers happy. So once in a while I screw up on a couple of parts. I'm overachieving all my targets, and I'm fooling around with a 10-cent item here. I'm bringing back millions for this company. I think you better review my thing again, because I'm not going to look at that. I can't accept that.
Tell you what I'm going to do, Sandy. Why don't you take the review and take the standards agreement and take it home for the weekend, look it over.
I don't even want to look at it. I don't want this damn thing.
I want you to give me your input. Tell me what you think you deserve and show me why. Substantiate it.
Okay, I'll tell you right now.
Now I want you to take it home with you, and I want you to write it down on a piece of paper and bring it back to me on Monday morning.
I don't want to do that.
You want to take what I've given you?
No. I got these numbers. I refuse. I don't want any of that.
Well, the only other alternative would be to take it to Hilton.
Well, you better, because I'm not going to do nothing with this.
And let Hilton explain it to you, because I don't know what's going on.